Hi everyone. So I wanted to talk about insecurities in this one and how I overcame insecurity. Of course, there's many ways for everyone, but this is the way that worked for me, and this is actually the way that I tell a lot of people, and I feel like it helps them as well. So first of all, I want you to see this. Hey everybody. So this is what I used to do. I used to literally sit in front of the mirror. Okay, just me in the mirror, staring at myself. And I would talk to myself. I would stare there and I would look at the things that I would hate. Okay. So when I was younger, going through PMS, going through lots of things, I actually had pretty good acne, I would say. You could even see some of my scarring, what people nowadays might call moon craters. And I say that now because of an experience I had. When I was younger, I did want to model, but at the same time, obviously, people tell you things of like why you can or why you shouldn't. Like you're too short, your nose, you need a nose job, you need cheek implants, you need lots of things. I even had a close family member try to prepare me for the interviews they would do, and that's why he told me and tried to bring out about moon craters. And I got it, I understood, and in truth, I had heard that before he said it too, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect me, and it doesn't mean that none of those things didn't affect me. They all affected me. At the same time, it affects me because of the way that I look at myself and judge myself as well. And when they say those things, the ones that usually hurt are the ones that you say within as well. So something I definitely learned was when something bothers you about someone, it's usually something that's within yourself that you haven't dealt with. When there's something you hate about someone, it's something that you haven't dealt with inside. When there's something you love about someone, it's either something that you do have inside that you don't appreciate enough or something that you would like to build on, which you can. And so all of these things I knew. At the same time, it was very hard. I mean, having pimples is hard. I remember when I got my first pimple, it was when I first was getting my first boobs even, and it was my dad's best friend at the time who we called uncle, and he was I remember we were showing him pictures of our first family trip that we took overseas. It was a big deal for our family to be able to do that. And I remember when he was seeing the pictures, we were so excited for him to see, and he points at and he's like, "Oh, mosquito bites." And I was like, "Huh?" And I look, and what he had meant was my little nipples that were poking out now, and I couldn't believe it. And then my first pimple I got when I'm pretty sure it was 13, and it was like on my forehead, and it was, I couldn't believe it. And what did he do? The first thing, right away, points at it and points, and is like, "Oh, you got your first pimple!" And yeah. While sweet and funny, and I get why he's like that. I miss him. He's not around anymore. But it was just his humor and the way he is, and that's something we need to understand about people too. It's not their intention to harm, but if it affects you, it's something that is within you as well. Okay, I'm not trying to say that the way people go about it means it's okay, but we need to understand too that people are themselves, and all we can control really is ourselves. And if you wish to talk to them about it, you can. Okay, but back into insecurities. So for many years in my life, I would definitely say throughout my teen phases, so probably since maybe grade 8 through even past high school, because it was even when I was in my 19s and stuff, about to, like, because I did it up until, I'm pretty sure I actually probably did this up until I had my first real boyfriend, my first long-term boyfriend when I was 19. I would sit in front of the mirror and talk to myself. And it was there that I learned to work through insecurities, because it was there where I would be like, all right, why don't you think you're pretty? What do you think is pretty about yourself? What can you get to know about yourself? What do you like? What don't you like? What do others say? Are you okay with that? Is that helpful for you? Any of that kind of stuff. So as I was saying in another episode, I actually didn't want to be a girl when I was growing up until I learned to appreciate being a girl, and then was super thankful I was a girl. So it's a lot of things like that. It's about starting to become thankful. So first of all, I actually started to love my hair. You know, do I love my hair? And there was like things about it that I did. So what did I love about it? I love that for my kind of hair, Asian hair, it's not normal Asian hair. It's I'm actually very lucky. I get I have waves. I don't have curls. My hair is also not stick straight. The coloring I think is amazing. I have auburn hair. It was funny because I used to argue. So I don't dye my hair. I haven't dyed my hair since I was a teenager. And when I dyed it when I was a teenager, it was not even often. So this is my natural. And yeah, you see the auburn in there, and it was funny. It was because my partner, one time we used to fight, but fun fighting, not real fighting. That he'd just say my hair was black, and I'd be like, my hair's not black, it's auburn. And then when you be in the sun, my hair is super auburn. At the same time, when my hair is too, it can be blue. So I have lots of gradients of red and blue in my hair, which then when you learn about color spectrum, etc. I mean, we'll talk about that too. Then I started. What else? Oh, then. I mean, it was hard for me to love myself at first because when I moved, like I said before, it wasn't easy for me to be Asian, and I had to start loving myself for being Asian. I had to start loving the different things about me. Did I even love my lips? I think I was thankful for my teeth for my mom, because my teeth, I had braces. I had braces when I was young. I'll tell you my braces story, because I was one of the first young people to have braces, because they didn't even go past the age of 10. I think I was 8 when I first got mine. I was in grade 3. And then, and I had to be okay with that too, right? Like that, while not natural, kind of, because they are your teeth. My nose, I had a hard time ever liking that one. I don't even know if I still fully like it. I am thankful for it, because I have, like, most Asians I don't think have quite a nose, but I'm a bit different. I'm not full on Chinese. I'm also Shanghainese, and yeah. Then, my eyebrows, dude, I still think I have the funniest eyebrows. Like, they don't really, grow in places, and, I mean, it's funny. I think, my eyes, I didn't fully love my eyes, because I wanted colored eyes. I always wanted blue eyes, purple eyes, silver eyes. I just wanted light eyes. And I actually wore colored contacts for a bit, because I thought I looked way prettier, and in truth I actually do look beautiful in colored contacts. It looks great, but I also love my brown eyes now. But in truth, I didn't. I had a hard time, because when I was looking, you don't get to see all the cool things that you see in lighter eyes. And not just that, I wanted to be white. So there's a lot of sitting there and being okay. And then also being happy with my skin at the time, because then I was thankful that I could tan so easily that I didn't even have to try, and that kind of stuff. But at the same time, like I said, I didn't like my acne at the time. These liver spots and stuff, that came later, and I'll talk about that too, because that's even transforming now based on me. And also, when you start learning about when you see the visual of yourself, you allow it to be that, but we can change that with energy, but we'll talk about that soon. My body. Yeah, so for me, I was actually lucky, because I know a lot of people go through a lot of body shaming and stuff. I loved my body. That was one thing I was lucky about. My sister, when I was young, her and her friends told me about what a beautiful midsection I had. They talked about just many things, like how it was long, how it was muscular, and all this kind of stuff, and basically told me to appreciate it. And so I did, and I always appreciate that. And from there, then I'll teach you some things that I did too. So I actually believe a lot of things is what we do with our mind. So for me, to keep myself toned and everything, and I actually did everything in life as a workout. So I didn't necessarily, I'm not really a workout person. I'm great at it. I can do it. I do enjoy it when I'm doing it, but it's not my thing to go work out every day. Good for props to those that can. Like, that is determination, drive. Again, that's so much. Depending, everything is moderation, though, because sometimes, why are you pushing yourself that far? That's for you to discover, right? Are you trying to distract yourself from anything, etc., etc.? Is it just towards your goals, etc., etc.? There's so many things, and that's all within yourself, and nothing is wrong or bad. It's usually many. Pat yourself on the back. I'm a very pat yourself on the back person. Give yourself credit. So for me, all my jobs, I scooped ice cream. I did so many things, and I would always use my whole body. So it's like you know how they have resistance training. I was always engaged, depending what I was using. So that always helped tone me up very easy, because everything you do is toning, dude. But I did do hard labor. I mean, I was the one lots of times moving the frozen dough in boxes and organizing orders and all that kind of stuff. And we had high turnover. So it was very, very quite heavy, those sometimes 3 to 4 skids to etc. skids, depending on the time of season. Like, very heavy. Taller than me, too. And, yeah. Point being that I decided to use that stuff to do... So... Some people, when they work, I mean, that's damaging your back. That's damaging, depending what you do. So if you do things in the right way, like, it's very, it does tone you up. It does do things for you. So that's when I learned a lot about mind frame. I had a hard time, though, thinking I was pretty. I really did. And I don't think that came from me, actually, until I was older, when I realized that a lot of older boys were into me, and I didn't know why. And it was actually because I was Asian. A lot of older boys were into me. I was very much in a Caucasian town too, but a lot of older boys were into me, because when you get older, you learn that boys say that they like exotic, and it's just funny. So, I mean, that did help me to get to love myself more. So sometimes it's not just you're able to fall in love with yourself. Sometimes it is other people's opinions. Most times it is, which is why we actually look to a lot of people for our value instead of valuing ourselves from ourselves. So that in front of the mirror, though, is where I learned to value myself. So like I was saying, I've been doing that since like grade 8 into my 19, right? So I sat in the mirror and I would talk to myself, and sometimes I'd bawl my eyes out, but most times it was just the questions. It was honestly like, Vanessa, what are you feeling? Well, why? And why? It was really why is the most I used to feel like when I would ask myself why, because you answer and I ask why, answer and why, and just further, because it leads you to places. And I actually feel like that's something that annoys a lot of people when you do it to them, but normally it annoys people because you're triggering something within them that they're trying to avoid. And when you're trying to get there, they're just like stop it, it's too much, and it's because they don't wish to go there, because it is triggering something. So for me, I allowed myself to trigger myself in front of the mirror, and I'd go through it in the mirror, and there's a lot of answers, and many times in the mirror I would look at myself and tell myself as things go how much I love myself, and forgive a lot. And yeah, there was a lot of sitting there just staring and feeling sad, but getting, for me, I don't believe any time is wasted effort. I actually believe every moment is a step forward in whatever direction it is, but it moves you forward, because even when you are back, that's forward, is because sometimes you need to go back for that momentum forward, right? Because sometimes those 3 steps back puts you 10 steps forward, So I don't look at anything as wasted effort, ever. I actually look at everything as putting the energy into, and when you put the energy into, like, it leads to so many things. So even just sitting there, putting the intention there, but not feeling like you got anywhere, is still getting somewhere, And that's when you appreciate yourself for taking the time to do those things. So I just want everyone to know that it is in your own time to do your own things, and it is for you to lead the questions that inspire you. And I do believe that imagination and trusting yourself and following your path and being okay with that's where your path is, and that kind of stuff leads to where you're meant to go and the journey you're meant to go. So that's just my tips on insecurity, as that's how I overcame it. Now, again, you heard there, it wasn't just a one-day journey. It was a many years journey, okay? And yours doesn't need to be as long, or it might be as long, or it might be longer, but it also might be shorter. And in truth, it's all about how we talk to ourselves. So recognize that, okay? I did a lot of word changing, tweaking. How can I replace this word with this word? How can I take away that negative talk and the positive talk? And that's where I learned a lot of rewiring how I speak to myself, and learning a lot of things, and then going out into the next day, and seeing where can I utilize the things that I learned when I was talking to myself, and integrate it into life. And it was a lot of these experiences and observations that allowed me situations. And this is why I look at everything as a reason for everything. Everything is a reason for everything, and every moment is an opportunity for change. So any moment of now is an opportunity. So I looked for those things, and that's what I started to see. And I was grateful for the lessons, and I was grateful for the things it taught me, and the tweaking and all that kind of stuff. So it's about being patient with yourself and about trying these things. And you don't have to do a whole bunch. You can honestly do one here or not do any. Like, it's whatever your pace is. And the truth is being gentle and just being open to learning in the experience, and and then appreciating and loving and thanking yourself and the other people, because many times it's our fear and insecurity that stop us from doing anything, and it's an illusion, right? And when you actually go there, the experience is actually better than you had thought, or different, or maybe it is what you thought, but it teaches you. That whole experience taught you. And I'll be honest, most times it's not as bad as you think, and most times it goes amazing, is because we don't give enough credit to ourselves or the other people for the experience to come based on our communication and the energy we come in, right? So many things in there. So I hope you enjoy yourselves and the time in the mirror. It's actually used to be one of my favorite things to do, because it went from not being able to look at myself to being able to stare at myself and talk to myself and love myself and appreciate myself. And now, like, when I do any, I just love myself the whole time. I'm so in love with myself. I don't think that's a bad thing either, to be so in love with yourself, but make sure being in love with yourself is not just completely in vain. Like, make sure there's a balance there, right? Of the humble appreciation, loving others and loving yourself, and being okay with all of that, and then loving yourself because you're amazing and it's great, but not the loving yourself where you're just like, well, I mean, there's a healthy balance in everything. So it's what you believe is good for you, okay, and what you believe, because it's not about what I tell you. It's about how you feel. Remember, it's always about how you feel, okay? So learn to love yourselves. And if you love yourselves already, then be happy about that. And you can always love yourself more and more and more. Everything's in waves, right? So enjoy getting to know yourself more and more and more, because it's one of the best things that you could ever do for yourself. Promise. Love you all. And be gentle on yourself, okay? And it's okay to be in those dark times, because the dark times, the lowest times, are what bring you to your highest highs. I guarantee that. Love you.